All right. Hey, everybody. This is Mark May. I am here with Chadwick Braithwaite, and really excited. This is my Artist Talk series. We are talking about photography. We're talking about creativity. We're talking about entrepreneurship, talking about rehab and stuff like that. Hey, Chad, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Mark?
Doing fantastic. Fantastic. Are you out in Utah right now?
Salt Lake City, Utah. Yep.
Sweet.
And it's snowing. It snowed
yeah,
like 4 inches last night.
Oh my God. Well, you can see outside here in Durham, we're good still. I think we're getting snow this weekend though. Finally, I hope. Cool. What have you been up to?
Just been busy getting ready. We just launched rehab ticket sales, 5 days ago? That's been just getting all that stuff busy and ready.
Yeah. And that was out in Moab.
Last year was Moab. This year is North Carolina, out by you.
Cool. What are some other things you do? I know that we post about photo rehab all the time, but you are you're a pretty hardcore entrepreneur, I would say, at least. I know you a little bit better than most folks, but I mean, what are some other things that you have been doing or kind of led you to rehab and all these other things?
Well, I own Faces Photography, first off.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing that for 10 years now. And then just recently, I've been starting some other side projects. Rehab was the big one. Photo Sanctuary is also another big one. It's kind of a creative resource, or a hangout for photographers. It's learning, creative blogging. It's kind of a conglomerate of where photographers can go to post stuff and learn from other photographers.
Sure.
That's been a big thing this year also that we released.
Cool. How did you actually get started as a photographer in the beginning? What's your story?
I started out actually as an electrical engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Just decided one day that I didn't like it anymore. I quit and didn't want to do it anymore. And just walked into the boss and said, "Hey, I can't do this. I don't know what I want to do, but I need to figure out what I want to do." So I quit and I got a job working at a studio, just being an editor.
Huh. So you were an electrical engineer, then you were an editor at a photography studio?
Yep, a photography studio, and ironically, it's about 2 blocks away from where my studio is now. I moved it away, and then come full circle 7 years later, I move it a block or 2 away from where I started. And then about a year after that, I started shooting for him, and then kind of bought all his equipment and left it because he didn't want to do it anymore. So I left and went off and did my own thing.
Right.
People are saying that it's pixelated. I don't know. Am I pixelated to you?
Yeah, you are a little bit. That's okay. It's not important. I'm sure.
I'm pixelated in real life, though. So I live a very low megapixel reality.
Yeah. So then how many years have you been shooting photos?
I've been shooting photos for 10 years now.
Okay, cool. Right. That's a long time compared to a lot of my previous artist talks, honestly. Minus like Ryan Bernhauser and Sam Hurd. They're about this. Ryan's been shooting a little longer, but
but definitely the old person in the industry.
For sure. So then, talk to me about this editing job you had. Was this like were you editing like in Photoshop, like
all in Photoshop?
CS3?
Oh, it was Photoshop like 7. It wasn't even.
Okay.
It was pre-CS.
Okay. Word.
Yeah. So basically, what it was is I did graphic design and marketing for just kind of independent small businesses, and that's how I paid for school.
Okay.
So I kind of did that on the side and just paid for school. I did a little bit of marketing and graphic design and web design for the company I worked for prior. So my roommate at the time basically just said, hey, a buddy owns a studio. He needs a person to edit. And really, I just edited headshots all day long. That's all I did in Photoshop. I made their teeth glowing white, their eyes glowing white, blurred the skin really a ton.
I remember those days.
Yeah.
I look back. I have the Apple TV, and I have these old photos of my kids, my son from when he was like 1, like 5 years ago, and I went into Photoshop and I'd taken all the eyeball and added like an iris enhancement and in clarity, and I'm like, oh my god, what did I do?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then you did that. What is it? The overpass filter to kind of like give it kind of a grungy feel.
Wow. Well, what are some things you learned through that job?
My biggest thing, so when I came into there, he didn't really want to work that much. He was hardly ever around. I didn't see the main photographer more than once a week. Now watch, he's going to be watching this somehow and write me a text and be like, screw you. He never really worked that much. We didn't have a lot of business. His main business, he would send out photographers across the country to shoot headshots for aspiring actors and models. And so we would just get pictures for headshots and then email them to him. So we did have a little bit of portrait work, and people would start coming in. And the reason I started shooting is he stopped showing up, and there was a client that showed up for family portraits. And so I told the office manager, I'm like, well, I've taken a few pictures before, and it's super embarrassing, and I would be so mad if that happened at my studio, that like a random person that has shot a few photos before takes someone's photos. But I jumped in, shot their family photos, and then they kept using me as the main photographer, and the owner decided, oh, well, I don't have to show up anymore. The first thing I learned right away is he was offering, and it's crazy to me, he was offering $20 portraits for families. Like, come in, $20 gets you an 8x10 in the sitting fee. And it blew my mind. So I actually, without him knowing, and yet again, it's like the things that if my employees did this, I probably would be upset.
Right.
Unless it turned out this well. But I upped it to $100, his minimum package. And we didn't have one person that even balked at it. So the first thing I learned from there was really make sure to put a value on what you're doing. You don't want to shoot, I mean, at $20 a package, you have to shoot, God, I don't know, 40 families a month just to pay your bills. When I quadrupled the price, times by 5 the price, and we didn't lose any business, and we instantly had to shoot way less portraits, and we just did a better job with the fewer clients we had instead of just trying to get masses through the door.
Sure. Well, being in the current culture and society, being a photographer, just being an artist, being someone who wants to make money doing something creative, over the past decade, you've probably seen fairly dramatic changes. Like, what are some of those big changes that you've noticed and observed and kind of had to flow and roll with?
I've seen the trends. Like, it's funny that every few years there's a new trend that comes up, and it's the high popular selling thing. And I was shooting film when I first started photography. I was really slow to move over to the digital to use it for actual paid work. And I got a Nikon D70 was my first camera, but I was very slow and hesitant. But when I first noticed everyone, like, I remember when digital came out, everyone complained about, oh, well, now everybody's a photographer and everybody can do it. Digital made it so easy. And a lot of the professionals started complaining that, oh, they were undercutting. And I learned really quick how little it really affected my end business. I would lose a few clients a year because their neighbor, mother, brother, someone wanted to shoot their pictures, their portraits for less than $50 and give them everything. But I really never lost that much business. I learned that it was always the clients that caused me the most problems who I lost.
Sure. Those
were the people that I was losing. I wasn't losing my clients that valued the art and valued what I did. It never affected it. And then throughout the many years, trends on overlays were super popular for for an embarrassingly long time. When I first started, that was like the dawn of selective color, and it was so popular to do engagements, and the red roses were in color, and for everyone that says it was popular, it was painful back then.
Really?
It was painful when it first started, and then overlays were painful. But if a client came in and wanted to pay you $500 to do it, of course I'd do it.
Sure.
I'd painful and cringe and try to give it the best twist with the least amount of pain.
Yeah.
But if they wanted a grungy overlay, sorry, I keep interrupting.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's really interesting, like, just to get to know you over the past year and just observe your entrepreneurial spirit, and because yeah, you've done the photo rehab, you're doing photo sanctuary, and you're doing a bunch of other little things, and it's interesting because like a lot of photographers are just they're just scrambling and grasping for just to make any money or just to get like likes on Facebook, but it seems like you have like this it seems you're a little more grounded business-wise and entrepreneurial-wise, because there's not a lot of folks who feel like they have the experience and the resume almost to be able to do some of the things you're doing. I mean, and it also just takes guts and balls. I mean, can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed, I mean, and it goes back to the earlier question of what I've learned and what I've seen through over the years. I see a lot of photographers, and be it new or older, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of people that, I mean, you get the questions, we all get the questions of, oh my gosh, oh my God. Sorry, I'm looking at the comments on this, and Sandy and Jamie are posting, and they say it's some of my old work, and they did a selective color, a good one too.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
See this.
Sorry, I lost that. I lost my train of thought there, and I'm supposed to be singing, so I'll get a song here in a second. I'll somehow move it into my answer. But one thing I've noticed, there's a lot of people that complain, like clients will call and say, "Hey, do you mind giving me the raws?" And it's like, and I don't understand why it's such a horrible question that people ask. Like, I get why we don't. 100%, I don't give the raws, no questions asked. But my answer to all my clients, I've had several clients, and I, honest to God, I've had 2 that said yes. But when they asked for the raws, I explained to them what the difference is and find out what they're really asking for. Because 90% of the time, they're not asking for raws. They're just asking for more photos to see, or more candid photos to see. But I did have a client once that said, I would really like the raws. I want to edit. And I kind of explained to them and said, hey, well, it's part of the art, the portrait, and how I edit them. So giving you those and then putting my work without my is not really how I want to do it. And he said, okay, but will you still sell me the raws? And I said, sure, $2,500. You can have every photo I shot and the raws. And he said, yeah. So I happily danced my way to the bank with $2,500 in my pocket and kind of cleaned my hands of it and said, you know what? I'm okay with him editing my raws. And I talked to him and said, just don't post them online.
Yeah.
He was more wanting to be a photographer and learned how to edit. And now he shoots a little bit here and there, I see. But he paid me $2,500 for my 300 photos in the raw format. And I happily, and now that's always my answer for clients is, oh, you want the raws? Sure. This is why I don't sell raws. This is the reason. But if you want them, there is a price on it, and this is it. And I've had tons of people, and that's one thing that I feel like has kind of put me separate. I'm willing. I mean, I'm a business person. I have rent. I have bills. And honestly, I have vacations I want to go to and things I want to do and drinks I want to buy for my friends. And if people are willing to pay a premium for that, then I'm willing to sell it. And I mean, there's the double edge of completely selling out. I've had people still to this day ask for, I had a mom, and I hope she's watching. Kim, if you're watching, I'm talking to you. She literally, it was like 3 months ago, asked me, I think it'd be really cool if it was all in black and white and their eyes were blue.
Sure.
And I kind of laughed. I was like, well, her eyes aren't blue. So you want me, whatever. And I'm like, and I just started laughing. I'm like, no, I won't do that. And I won't do it for you to save you from that embarrassment.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, there is a market out there for that stuff still. You know, there's another market out there right now. There's a huge influx of folks that want to be photographers right now. You know, with our iPhones. I'm on Instagram Live right now, by the way, if you guys want to follow.
Oh, nice.
And also watch live. But yeah, I mean, with our phones now, with how high quality cameras are just a lot more accessible. Folks want to be photographers, and they see beautiful photos. They're like, man, I could do this. I can definitely do this. So they're jumping into this market. They're jumping into this profession, and they're saying, hey, I just need to take a quick course, or I just need to get my preset, and I'll be good to go, and I can, you know, get a website, and I can start making money. What is your take on that? What is your perception from where you stand, you know, starting off as a film photographer and someone who's seen the market change so dramatically? Like, what's your thought on all this?
I don't mind it. I love it. Being that I'm a little more in education and do a lot of mentoring and stuff. I mean, I remember when I first started, about a year or two into it, I thought I knew everything. I thought I saw the big photographers, and I'm like, I can do that. I can do just as good as them. And I remember having, and embarrassingly enough, an arrogance about it, that, oh, I can do that. And now that I look back, it wasn't that I wasn't as talented, and I wasn't. I'm going to flat out throw that out there. I look back at that work, and I'm like, well, I was nowhere near it. But it wasn't that people that are just starting out or just bought their presets or just got their camera. There's so much talent right now. Holy cow. Like, intimidatingly scary how much talent. But one thing I've seen throughout the years is there's a lot to be said about experience.
Like what?
What was that?
What you said? Experiments. Like, what do you mean by that?
Experience.
Oh,
experience.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I would. I like playing the devil's advocate because I'm an educator too. You know, I've been teaching for about 10 years now. Teenagers at the college level, young photographers. I challenge that in some sense. You know, I love. Twyla Jones is one of my good friends. She's one of your good friends as well. You know, she's only been shooting for like 1.5, 2 years.
Oh my gosh, like scary. Like, yeah. Came out and blew everyone out of the water.
Yeah, another example, Cody Harris. You know, I would put him similarly. Has this really hardcore like entrepreneurial spirit as you. You know, he's only like 23, 24. You know, he's crushing it out there, and I'm just like, and I'm just like, man, but he's only been shooting, you know, a year or two, and I'm like, man, what's happening here? How is it possible that someone can have a small amount of experience and so quickly like just rise to the top, you know, and so many people will be able to do that, you know, because it's just really interesting to see all this happen so quickly, you know, and I'm just dumbfounded by it. I love the ride, you know. I try.
Me too. I enjoy watching it. One thing I've learned, I think the biggest thing I've learned throughout the years is the nice thing about being a photographer, it's not zero sum. Just because Cody is doing well or Twyla is doing well doesn't mean I won't.
Sure.
And I think that a lot of photographers feel that way, that they get jealous or see a photographer book an Iceland wedding and they kind of get jealous and get mad. And granted, I get jealous. I want to shoot an Iceland wedding. I want to travel around the world and only do those. And I see other people, and every once in a while, it's kind of a humble reckoning that I have to realize that just because they're doing well doesn't mean I can't do well.
Sure.
And that was, I think, the biggest lesson I learned throughout the years is I'm more excited to see a lot of photographers, because I remember 6 years ago, it was a hard industry. Come to 6 years ago, now I'm getting old. Like come 2010, it was a rough industry. We're not a necessity. We are definitely like an extra expense that if you have extra, you spend it. I mean, even weddings, you don't have to have the photos to get married.
Sure.
And who was it? I think it was Sean Carr that posted a really good blog about it that said, you can go to the courthouse and get married and your marriage is just as important.
Right. Than
if you spend $100,000. And granted, it's a luxury. It's awesome. And it's definitely a good thing. I like it. And it's obviously my profession. But one thing I think I learned the most throughout the years is to enjoy and celebrate other people's successes. Sure. Because if Cody and Twyla are doing well, and I don't mean to name certain people because there's so many that are doing really well right now.
Yeah, that's true.
But if other photographers who are doing well, it means the whole industry is doing well.
Yeah.
It's not just one person. It's not a zero sum. If they're doing well, other people will do well too.
Sure, that's so true. That's so true. I think that this industry has been amazing. Because of that, I think me and you and other folks have with our sound. I think that for those of us who kind of are able to act like water, and just able to go with the flow and adapt and be flexible, and also not get offended really easily and not get resentful. But I think, hopefully I can be one of those folks too and last, Yeah,
I love watching so many photographers do well.
Yeah. Because
it means the industry, there's a lot more luxury income out there, and there's a lot more people willing to spend more money on photography. I mean, 10 years ago, it was much more difficult to get someone to send you across the world for a wedding or an elopement.
Sure.
Now it seems like it's every 3 weddings. If you look at, I'm gonna quit naming names because there's so many good ones. Yeah. But if you look at Instagram, I swear it's every other photographer has a wedding in Norway or a wedding in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because it means more people are doing it.
Sure. Why don't we take a break and talk about our sponsor today? Our sponsor today is The Photo Rehab, and you actually are the creator of The Photo Rehab. The Photo Rehab, everyone, it is it's the unworkshop is what it's called. We take our participants out and we shoot and talk about all the amazing things that go through our minds. We actually, Chad, can you actually talk about kind of the twist on The Photo Rehab really quickly while we take this break?
For sure. The Photo Rehab actually started on accident. It was more or less, I wanted to show that California, Seattle, and Oregon aren't the only places that can get really good photos. And Iceland, I have to put that one in there because that's the popular one. There are places all over the world. I have tons of friends in Nebraska and Kansas that are amazing photographers and can shoot just as good of photos out there. So it's kind of moving around the country. Every year it's in a new spot. And it's not going to be in the typical spots. It's the hidden gems of the country. And here actually this year we released that we're going to start doing it international also. There's a Guatemala trip in April.
Guatemala, that's exciting. It's called Photo Rehab Explorer. Is that right?
Yep, it's on the website. It says Explorer on it. And it's very small. I want it to be very small and intimate instead of, I do tons of workshops and I enjoy workshops. I love everything about them, but I'm not one that learns well in classrooms or big groups. I'm much more hands-on. So that's what I wanted it to be, is a hands-on experience. So it's very small and it's more intimate. And I'm looking for local photographers that are kind of the unsung heroes. We have so many good photographers throughout the world, and there are a handful of people teaching, but there are so many other ones that I want to hear from that you may not know of. So I'm trying to find, so for example, North Carolina, I only have North Carolina mentors teaching, and we don't call them teachers, we call them mentors, because it's more of a mentor session. It's much more intimate and not a classroom. Sure. It's showing how you got to the photo shoot, what you did, and more of questions. Like, I'm not requiring that they even have a set class or anything about it. It's more, here's how I got this shoot. They're setting up a shoot. And then it's more questions on how they can kind of read that mentor's mind and figure out his method of how they do that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
If anybody else wants to check it out, go to Photo Rehab. We can find it there. I was actually just reminded while we were talking about that, Chad, you are speaking at the Forest and Falls workshop too, aren't you?
I am. Yes, we're speaking, and that's an awesome, really big workshop. I think and that's the thing of the industry. I think there's a time and a place for both.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a hole in, like, a missing spot that I didn't, and there probably is one that I just couldn't find.
Yeah.
But there's tons of really good ones, and I go to both. There's a time that I really need to be in a classroom and learn, like, the basics and hear from really big, amazing, well-known photographers, and I'm super excited. The Forest and Falls is going to be an awesome, awesome workshop.
Yeah, so there you are right there. You can check out forestandfalls.com. Okay, cool. Well, there's our little break. I hope you guys saw that.
Sandy keeps asking me what's in this, and it's whiskey. It's High West whiskey.
Ah, yes. So when I was out, I tell this story often here in Durham. Here, show us that lovely bottle again. You weren't wrong. But when I was out at Photo Rehab in the Moab Desert in Utah with these guys, just kind of like doing research, basically, I got to taste this High West whiskey that Chad is drinking. Is this the rye, Chad?
This is the double rye. Yep.
Yeah. So
this is the one
yeah, that's the one we had out there. That's like $120 bottle of whiskey, huh?
The double rye is only like 40.
Oh, okay.
The Yippee-Ki-Yay and
That's right. That's what it was. Yippee-Ki-Yay.
The other one. There's a Yippee-Ki-Yay, and I can't remember now. I'm really embarrassed.
No,
but there's a few really good ones.
I recall that now. I remember going up because we have our own bartender there, right?
Yep. There's a bartender is there, and actually this year you met Tony last year.
Yeah.
We're actually flying him out to North Carolina. And he offered to teach a bartending cocktail making class.
Oh my God.
Which is kind of just a side fun that if they want to go to. But I'm super excited because Tony's awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, he was incredible. But I got to drink out of this like $120 bottle of whiskey like every night at Photo Rehab. And I was like, that was like incredible to hang out with you guys and be able to sit there and drink this lovely whiskey. So anyways, High West whiskey. Let's move on to a couple more questions. These are really like the meat of my interviews, and I really love asking these questions because they're hard and they're difficult, and no one ever asks these questions. I want to hear about some of the more, I guess, emotional struggles or struggles that like maybe few people know about that you've gone through that kind of led you here to stay positive, to stay pushing, and to move forward in life and just as an artist.
Mm-hmm. Well, people don't know a lot. I think every photographer, to be a photographer, you have to be a little oversensitive. And I might get a lot of people mad at me about that, but everyone is. I am. You're a lot more tied to your work, and it's much more of an emotional job. Engineering is what I did, and there's no emotion in it. It's very calculated, logical, and engineers, there's never an engineer that got his feelings hurt because another engineer got to go somewhere else.
Right.
It's just part of it. But as a photographer, I mean, and I think it happens a lot more in the winter when I get slower, where work slows down and I have a lot more time to think about it. Right now is a good time. I'm actually getting ready for a bridal show coming up, and I'm looking through all my old work. I need to pick 9 pictures to put on the wall, and I can't find any of the pictures. I'm like, I don't like any of the pictures, none of them. And it starts to wear on your self-esteem that I just spent a year and I can't find anything I'm really, really want to put up.
Right.
And granted, and then I show people and they tell me all these other ones, but it's highs and lows. You get in these moments where you're really attached to it. And if you send a gallery to a client and they don't sing your praises immediately, you kind of get a little sensitive, like, oh, well, maybe they hated it. Maybe they didn't like it. And it's just part of life. But when I first started, this is more of a real struggle than just me feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
When I first started, I actually had a business partner. I didn't think I could do it by myself. I was a little nervous about just starting off.
Yeah.
So I brought one in, and she was a portrait photographer in a mall studio for 10 years prior. So I was like, oh, well, she has a lot of experience. 3 months into it, I could tell it was not going well, and I had made a bad choice, and it cost me, double what it should have. And that was a really low point. I remember being ready to just say, you know what, I tried this. I'll go back to engineering where it was easy. And it's, sadly enough, as it's happened 3 or 4 times where I just get really hard on myself, where one bad thing happens and I'm ready to just throw in the towel. I think being a photographer, you're a little more emotionally connected to your work, and it's easier to like have your highs and lows. And that's been, it's a struggle every year for me. Every year, no matter how, we had our best year at Faces Photography ever. This year was the best year we've ever had. And still, come winter, it's like, oh, I don't know if and you just kind of, in the back of your mind, think about, do you want to do it another year? Or do you want to keep going? Is this something legitimate? And then you all of a sudden start booking tons of weddings, and you have the best clients. They're so awesome and thankful that it makes it worth it. But I think every photographer struggles that way. And I think it's normal, but it's not something we talk about. No one admits that they consider never doing it again.
Sure.
Because you don't want to be known as vulnerable.
Right.
Why would you don't want to be known that maybe you're not as confident about your work as you show on Facebook.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And I know everybody else out there does too. Yeah, that's something I think I would agree. I think a lot of us artists that are trying to push through this day to day in these seasons, these ups and downs, that's a struggle.
That's very like the winter. I've noticed for photographers is very much our crazy season, where we have a little bit more downtime. We start thinking about ourselves and being self-conscious about it.
Right, for sure. On a similar note, are there we've talked about a few photographers that are there. Those are actually our close friends. We've talked about, but are there other artists that are not photographers out there? Maybe musicians or other fine artists that really inspired you, or you currently look to that we don't really know about.
Oh, other artists. I'm so like being a photographer. I hang out with friends, and once there's a photographer, I feel bad for everyone else because we just kind of talk shop, and it's accidental. One person, and it's still a photographer, but it's not in the industry I really focus on, or the one. Joel Grimes has been like the leading, always been the person I've kind of looked to. He's colorblind. He's colorblind and a photographer and a fantastic editor, and it blows my mind. I fangirl over Joe Grimes.
Is he the guy who does like the motorcycles and stuff? No,
he does kind of basically he'll Photoshop backgrounds in and does only commercial stuff.
Oh, okay.
Composite work. He does a lot of composite work. And he's taught me a lot about commercial and composite work, and I love his work. I don't do that much of his style, but I follow him on Instagram. I have a friend that does a lot of podcasts, and actually texts him when WPPI comes up, and I started fangirling over him, and she was here, and he mentioned my name on one of their podcasts, and I freaked out like a little girl at a Justin Bieber concert. I lost it.
Cool. Yeah.
But to answer your question, not photographers, I'm very influenced by music, and it changes every week.
Yeah, who are some of your favorite artists?
Oh, favorite of all time is definitely Aerosmith. I was born a decade too late to really, truly enjoy it. But my father, I remember my dad playing Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin records nonstop, and it just kind of really resonated and always has stuck with me. Even to this day, Aerosmith comes on, it's like it's quiet time and pay attention.
Yeah, that's so funny. It's the exact same way for me as my childhood, actually. My father was like a rocker. He's like a 70s, still to this day, kind of studies looking like style rocker. And same thing, Aerosmith was like my favorite childhood band too. You remember that? I think I was in like 6th grade, but that album, Get a Grip, with the cow.
Oh, so good with the cow udder on it. And it's a pierced udder, yeah.
That was amazing.
It was so good. And that still is one of my favorite albums from them.
Yeah, that was right when, you know, there was a lot more high quality music videos coming out and stuff. That was that one with his daughter and Alicia Silverstone.
Oh yeah.
So good. Yeah, same here. Music, I think, is a big thing, and that inspires a lot of us. I love when photographers share their Spotify playlist that they edit to, you know.
Oh yeah. Mine would be all over. I wouldn't dare share it because mine would be all over, and then there would be like a Britney Spears in the middle of it, and I'd be like, well, I'm not gonna lie, I did sing the whole song and know all the words.
Oh my God, that makes sense. That's okay. It's okay.
And then also another one that's really, I mean, it's not like I'm a huge fan. I really respect it and love seeing it. But Salvador Dali as a painter, to me, when people call me an artist, I feel a little self-conscious.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, Salvador Dali, Van Gogh, like, these people were artists. They created fantastic, beautiful work that I could never do. I couldn't paint a stick figure to save my life. And I got lucky. I was in France 2 years ago, and the Salvador Dali exhibit was going through, and I got to see it. And that's one that's kind of really, and I don't know why. I think it was a teacher in 4th grade that talked about him, and it's stuck with me ever since.
Yeah, same here. Well, what's interesting is I like artists like that. You know, I end up finding those artists through other artists that are interested in them, as well. So I have like these really interesting, strange connections. You know, somebody mentions someone, and then I go try to find them, and then I get really inspired from there. I love Macklemore. Macklemore is one of my favorite musicians. He's amazing. Ben Haggerty is his name. His name is not Macklemore, but so let's see. You got a question for me? I make mine on the spot.
Oh, do I have a question for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to ask you, do you want to be a guardian for Photo Sanctuary?
Oh, wow. That really is putting me on the spot. Wow, damn.
On the spot, right here. I can ask you a real question. Just kidding.
No, I'm kidding. I'm willing to consider it. I'm willing to consider being the guardian.
The guardian. I love the word.
I know, it's amazing. Well, it's, you got to get away from contributor and educator and teacher, this thing that we have rammed into the ground with our.
It's so boring.
It's just been overdone. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, what it is really is, I mean, you're writing your own stuff, but also collecting from other people, going out and finding stuff. So I felt weird that you were a contributor just going to find other people. Guardian just sounds so much cooler.
Yeah. I dig that. So, ask away.
I love your work. My question, and I've actually really wondered this, how did you start doing double exposures? What leaned you? I know that's what you're really. Every time I see you, you're always doing rad double exposures, and I try them, and I want to do double exposures really bad, and I just can't figure out what made you start doing it, and like what drove you and pushed you into that.
Well, I mean, I'm someone who I go balls to the wall usually with like one thing really, really hard, and then I tend, if it was kind of like what you were talking about earlier, if I I'll either get discouraged or get really motivated because it works out, but I came to a point a few years ago where I was just like, I'm shooting my kids all the time. I'm trying to find my niche and trying to find who I am as a photographer, trying to find out whether I want to do portraits or weddings or musicians or all this other stuff. And I was like, man, I also want to do other stuff. I don't want to do the thing that everybody else does. And I don't know how I initially ran upon it, but I watched that one tutorial that Sarah Byrne has, and just one time, and about how to do double exposures with the 5D here and the 5D Mark III, and actually this lens too, the 50 millimeter. I watched that one time and just picked up the really basic step-by-step technical aspect of it. But after that, it was just a matter of me experimenting over and over and over and over and over and over again for tons of time. I think the first time that I went out and actually tried double exposures, these are a couple of my favorite double exposures back here. Actually, they're damaged prints on the wall, but the first few times I went out, they really sucked. They weren't anywhere close to these, of course, but like they were really sucky, but like they were cool enough and original and unique enough where I was like, man, this could be something that that I could really enjoy crafting over time, because there's so much of photography that's just so easy. I mean, like I can turn my camera on high continuous right now and just start shooting and end up like that's a shutter speed and just like I can probably get a good photo,
I doubt any of those will be because they were pointed at me, but
I don't know, we'll see. Yeah. But I mean, it's just like I can probably get one, and I guess I'm a craftsman and I like spending time tinkering, and I like spending time experimenting it. And maybe I just wasn't getting fed doing the normal, low percentage keep stuff. You know what I mean? And I ended up just really appreciating the process of, I have to go through and I have to really consider multiple steps of a production process. That's I actually, my master's, a big part of my master's was studying documentary film and learning how to make films myself individually. But and so, I'm someone who loves the process from beginning to end and likes working on things that take time and take tinkering and experimentation. And I guess that's what initially kept me motivated. I mean, I'm a wedding photographer. That's where I make a lot of my money. I'm a photography educator. That's where I make a lot of my money. But like the things that really like feed me and feed my heart are the things that are difficult to do, that take time and that require multifaceted attention, and that's really the big thing that kept me pushing to become a better double exposure photographer. And also just like doing the same thing over and over again, as far as the process goes, and then allowing to build off of that, like these double exposures back here. I mean, they took a year or two to get to that level where I can understand what this thing is, and so I guess that's my answer. I'm not sure if I answered that question, but because I go off on tangents, but
do you do double everybody?
Say that again.
Do you shoot a double exposure or more than one in every wedding?
Yeah, I now every client that I have, I will try to shoot and actually deliver them a double exposure now. That's something. Yeah, that's something that I really strive to do. I know that my portfolio of work now is just I've just thrown them into all my other photos now, and they're just part of my wedding portfolio, my portrait portfolio, and all that. So, I do have a fine art exhibit, but generally, it's one of those things that kind of helps me stand out, and it's easy. It's easy. All I do is just take a portrait. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just not that hard anymore for me because I've done so many shitty ones.
I remember that week I came out to North Carolina.
Yeah.
You showed me double exposures, and I've done them on film and for a long time.
Yeah.
But never really pursued it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the next weekend I had a wedding, and I went out and I was like, hold on, I'm going to do a double exposure. And it literally took me like 15 minutes to get anything. And I looked at it and I was like, shit, deleted. And I was like, let's go on. It took me 15 minutes to get one that I even like moderately had good.
Yeah.
And as soon as it came out, I looked at it, I was like, no, I'm never going to try that. It just took too long for me. So I love the fact, I remember when we were out there, you seriously did like 15 in a matter of a few minutes.
Right.
I need to practice on that, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes tinkering. That's one thing I love about education, though, too, is like that's what I do when I teach photography. Is I'm like, hey, here's what we're gonna tinker with today. You know, I have no clue if it's gonna work. You know, like today I was working with some teenagers and we were working on stop motion cinemagraphs. You know, and I was actually talking to them about this. I was like, I'm sitting here referring to looks like film and Visco and these really big groups of really motivated, awesome photographers, and the things that these photographers like, right? So like they love these video cinemagraphs now, right? And I'm talking like I'm sitting here saying, well, you know, these are really cool, but they're also really kind of easy to do. You know, actually, they're not that hard to do. You know, and I'm like, but I was showing him some stop motion stuff, some stop motion cinemagraphs, and to make one stop motion image, I mean, it takes, you know, 30 minutes, an hour or so to make one stop motion photograph, you know. And this is not something that anybody does. And I'm explaining to them, you know, these are the things that as a digital artist, as a photographer, videographer, you have to find something that you are willing and enjoy spending time on, you know. And it's when the time comes after you've spent all that time, that's when it pays off. That's when that 15 minutes that you have to do a double exposure, like that's when it'll matter, you know. That's when your client will get wild, and that's when the band will hire you to do their cover, and that's when, you know, somebody pays for your double exposure photography course, you know, et cetera. It's just it's fun to see time well spent pay off, you know. And I think that's something that I really emphasize in my workshops and my education, in my photo field trips and things like that. And that's just something that I enjoy teaching and enjoy doing as well, you know. So speaking of gear, what's your favorite piece of gear here? I've got the 5D Mark III. What do you shoot with?
I shoot with, right now my main camera bodies are the 1DX2 and the 5D4.
Yeah.
I think I like the 5D4. I mean, it's kind of it's more go-to. It's more versatile and easier to hold.
Yeah.
I think I like it, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought I would hate it. I thought I would turn it off and wonder if there's a way to disable it. But the touch to shoot screen. I'm not a detail shooter. I'm not that person that sets up the table setting and like gets on a ladder and shoots down at it and makes it look awesome, and then every blog I ever submit to says we didn't get any table scenes or details. I'm like, well, I just don't enjoy it. But now I've really gotten a lot more into it because I can hold it above, touch the screen, and it shoots, and I don't have to make it a big ordeal in a wedding by getting a ladder or a chair. I mean, I'm not a small guy. Me standing on two rickety chairs, I've fallen and ripped my pants on more than one wedding, and I just prefer not to ever do it again. So it's nice that I can just hold the camera up and touch the screen. And it's actually opened up a whole different world of what I can shoot, because I'm not a tall guy either. I'm not 10 feet tall like Sean Carr.
Yeah.
So I can hold it up high and get like a downward perspective on that, and it's kind of awesome.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I shot with you all the time, and I shot with your Mark IV out in the Moab desert, and I felt the same way. And about the live view with the Mark IV. I think it's one of those revolutionary things for Canon that they made, and I'm sold. But I'm also very interested in the Fuji.
I'm so excited. So many people have switched over and jumped onto the Fuji. I don't know if I will, but I'm excited to try it and look. I mean, Ernie switched over. The Hans have switched over. Josh and Shelley Hartman. Lots of people have switched over, and I'm super excited. I want to shoot with it and see all the rage, but I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I like the feel of the 1DX2. I like that it feels like I could launch it off the building and still use it after. But I'm super interested in how compact and how easy it is.
Yeah, I mean, I have the I shoot with the Fujifilm X 100 a lot. I love that. Yeah, because the same thing. It ends up being a camera that I can just drop, and my son can shoot, things like that. But I'm really interested in the Fuji stuff and what they're doing, and love it. But
speaking of Fuji, and this has nothing to do with Fuji, but they're not shutting up on the comments.
I know, I'm sitting here like getting distracted as well. We probably
everyone wants to talk about how beautiful your eyebrows and lashes are. Sandy and Jamie they say you don't even need eyeliner. You've got such good lashes.
No, I need some serious grooming, actually. This is probably like the worst I've looked in a while. But yeah, I need this thing trimmed too, by the way. It is getting you just cut your man bun off, right?
I did. I had hair down to here, and I just cut it off like a few weeks ago.
I know. I did one of my Instagram stories and circled your man from
the man bun. I saw that.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's getting wild.
And I have to sing one for Sandy. Sandy said I have to sing a song.
Oh yeah, go for it.
She wanted me to sing every answer, but I'm definitely not that talented. I'm barely surviving in photography, let alone a singing career.
All right. I'll give you an easy question then. Let's see. What is your favorite color temperature to shoot in?
Color temperature? Oh, okay. My favorite color temperature is 10K because it's super popular right now. Thank you, Don Bringus.
Well done.
I really have never shot in 10K.
Neither. It's funny how quickly something can become popular.
I keep trying. I'll try it, and I go up to it, and I shoot it. I'm like, oh no, that's not what I look like. That's not my style.
I know.
But I think it's super cool. I'm jealous of people that are doing it.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, it's it's something that generally clients like warmer photos, so it ends up being like, oh, let's just, if you're shooting in RAW, whatever, generally, if you're usually editing warmer, it's like, whatever. But anyways, let's call it an evening. If you guys out there watching, if you want to follow Chad, I've got links to all his social media stuff and his workshop, the photo rehab that we're talking about, on the blog post. Troll him, connect with him, say hi. He's an amazing guy, so please say hello. And Chad, thank you so much for doing this with me, and thank you for your contribution.
Sean has a question about Bigfoot, he said.
Okay.
But I don't see where it is.
What's the question there, Sean?
I don't know, Sean. What's the question? He said, answer my Bigfoot question. I don't see it. Did he post it on your blog?
Let's see here. Let me check really quick.
Mark has to ask it.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's on your blog. That's like just posted.
It just says Chad's thoughts on Bigfoot ?
I recently have been, and it's not Bigfoot, it's Sasquatch, I learned. Bigfoot is for rookies.
Oh.
Sasquatch is for the true people that are curious about it and are the diehard fans.
Okay.
Sean has made me find out a lot about Bigfoot. I mean, Sasquatch or whatever.
Right.
And I'm super intrigued. I want to walk around in the woods in North Carolina looking for Bigfoot and maybe find some moonshine in the process.
Oh yeah, we have that in North Carolina, that's for sure.
I want to bring a banjo. I want to look for Bigfoot and drink moonshine.
That sounds amazing. I cannot wait. Yeah, Chad, thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution to the photography community. Thank you for just doing what you do and hustling and pushing through stuff and just being here and being kind of a leader and a mentor to all of us younger folks. Appreciate that. You're like Papa Chad.
Papa Chad, great. If that sticks, Mark, I'm blaming it on you.
We're going Papa Chad. Word. So thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, follow Chad and check back soon. We'll be doing more Otters Talks. I'm doing another one next week with Jacob Loafman. That'll be wonderful. And then coming up soon will be Josh and Shelly Hartman. They got into the top 30 of the rangefinder race. Yeah. So that'll be happening this month.
Both of those are going to be awesome. I'm teaching with Jacob in Costa Rica at the end of this month.
Oh, okay.
And I'm super excited. I want to ditch my class and go over to his.
Cool. Well, I hope that goes well for you. Thank y'all so much for watching, and check back soon. Love y'all. Peace.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.